I decided to soften those lines and wrinkles a little bit so that they weren't coming all the way down, just sort of halfway down, and then even to blur them further than that. So they're there, but not so obvious. And the outline is still there, but again, softened and blended with the background. I just need to add the tusks and the mother and the baby. And so I'll do that with a bit of white. I was going to make them slightly yellowish, but I thought, well, it doesn't really matter here. But I like the look of the elephant's hide now. So again, this brush is just picking up too much paint in some places. I mean, I just put paint on the corner, but managed to spread it all over. And so I want them narrow at the tips and widening as they go up. So I'll have to refine those, I guess, by wiping away or something. That one needs to be longer. Put some white in his eyes. White in the baby's eye, and then I'm going to do the foliage, and I'm going to put a bit of mud around the background here, and then this will be water, and then foliage all around. Added in the tusks, and now I've got some Viridian blue on my flat brush, and I'm going to just add some long leaves type of things, foliage growing in the surroundings. So I'm using the flat brush for one type of green, this Viridian green, and then I'll use my filbert brush for the other green, just to have a bit of variation and make it more interesting, colourful. And then I'll come back and I'll do they're walking into a little pool of water from the mud, so I'll put a bit of mud somewhere around their feet and leave this as the water, and then blue skies in the background. And so I'll just continue and fiddling until I feel that there's enough interest in the background without cluttering it too much. Again, after I initially laid down the paint with the brush while it was quite wet, I then came back with the brush, which is now quite dry, and just spread it out more softly and more, so it's more dispersed and less, less harsh lines. And so I'll do the same on this side. And I could have put some over the elephant, except now he's still wet from the blue and white mixture, so I can't do that now. Maybe I'll do that at the end when he's dry. And when she is dry. She is the mother elephant. So that's the one green, and now I'll use the filbert for the other green. And both the Viridian green and the phthalo green are opaque colors, but mixed with the oil and thinned out. They're quite translucent, but not that there's much to see underneath them. But now I'm putting the phthalo green on top of the filbert green, on top of the Viridian green, just here and there, so as to just add a little color variation. And then I'll also thin that out a bit. And maybe I'll add some red in between there as well. So there I have mixed the two greens together with this filbert brush, and I think it's made a nice bit of variation. And now I'm adding some red just again to add some interest to the leaves so that they're not all one bland colour. And I'll just put them in the red in lightly here and there. It's just red that I have left over on my canvas, on my palette, and I don't want to waste it, so here I'll add it in. And so this is just an easy way to add background foliage without it becoming just a painting about foliage, or just the elephants walking in a blank space. So now I was using the side of the brush, now I'm using the flat of the brush. It's up to each artist what you want to do with it. I mean, you don't need to do a course on how to do foliage to learn how to, or to figure out what you want to do with your foliage. Although there are people offering courses on that, and I find it quite, what can I say? I'd rather not say. But all you need to do is take the paintbrush and practice a few times. And each painting will be different. It depends what you want on that particular painting. I did foliage around my swans, and I did it much more carefully and much more specifically because I wanted them to be in a nest, and I wanted this foliage to be around that nest, and I wanted specific colours. But here I'm doing it much more randomly, just to give it added dimension. So I think that's it for now. I'm going to just leave it there and let it sit, and then maybe come back and add colour to those tusks and to the eyes. And a bit of mud around here, I guess. So I took a bit of the red and the Viridian green, and I made this muddy colour. And then I took a bit of the white and blue and a lot of oil, and I just made a little bit of a watery look over there, so that they're going from the mud into the water, and they're surrounded by all this foliage. So I think that gives it a nice finishing touch. I'll wait for it to dry because I'm not quite happy about the colour of this elephant yet. He's not really very visible. So I might have to put a bit more red into his hide and add a bit more yellow to the tusks for them to be visible. But I need to wait for the paint to dry for that. You can see the touches of red and the different shades of green made a difference to the foliage. And plus I added a little bits of white, which I then faded into the green, just to give some variations in colour and a bit of highlights. And the tusks look okay in the white, but I'm going to add a touch of primary yellow to the white to make it a bit more of a creamy colour. This brush is not very soft, it's quite hard. And then I'm going to add a bit of colour to the baby elephant, because he's looking too blue and too much like a part of the background. So I'm going to add a bit of the red and the yellows, a bit of the yellow and a bit of the violet, I think, whatever's left on my palette, just to make him clearer and more visible. I mean, he is tiny, but he needs to be visible. A few little tiny patches of colour, but that brush is too hard. I couldn't use it to blend, so I'm going to be using my bigger brush and just hoping for the best, because I really can't see very clearly what I'm doing. It's a very dark, rainy day here, and the light is just not adequate for me to see what I'm doing. And the only way I can actually see it is if I put it on my lap, which, the paint is still wet, so I don't really want to get covered with paint yet again. But that helps a bit. Still now I can't work out. I'll have to put the camera down. I made the baby elephant a whole lot of a softer grey. I had all those colours, but I added a lot of white to them, and then I blended them as I wanted his skin to just look more pure and, smooth like a newborn, and not all wrinkled like his mother. So not such a patchwork of colours. I mean, I love her colours, but they suited her. They didn't suit him. I didn't think so anyway. So you tell me what you think in the comments, and tell me if you would paint a painting like this, if you would be interested in trying it. Again, there's so many variations. One could do this really a limitless number of ways, but I just felt this was an interesting way to do it. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you again in my next video. Please like and comment if you haven't already, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.